Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Friday, good people. Listen, let's start this episode by just sharing Dr. Tammy is tired. I have been spending these last 3 weeks supporting activities, supporting sorority events, supporting friends and their businesses, marriages, and the like. So I'm a little bit tired. So I'm going to begin this episode by sharing something with you that I actually shared earlier this morning on social media. It's a gentle reminder that this month is Minority Health and Stress Awareness Month. We need to remember that each April, this month is extremely important to certain populations. We are trying to make sure that we recognize disparities within racial and minority populations, as well as to bring about equity in these same populations. We also need to recognize the stressors that are out here in the same populations and manners in which we can manage these stressors. So, as you continue to follow me on social media, you will find that I'm going to speak a bit more about these throughout the month of April. So that brings me into our episode. As you know, each week, I spend a great deal of time thinking about what it is that I would like to speak with you about, share either from my experiences or the experiences of others. Because this month also includes stress awareness, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of what you all are saying to me, as well as how stressors are causing some of us to be not necessarily ourselves at all times. I made a video earlier this week that spoke about Dr. Tammy. And yes, you know I sometimes speak about myself in the third person. So it is what it is. But I shared with each of you that over the weekend, I took a moment to self-reflect myself and to straighten my own crown. You see, sometimes we have to remember to do that for ourselves. We are so focused, so laser focused on helping everyone around us that we often forget to help ourselves. And this past weekend, I found myself in that space. I found myself stressed a bit because I had not taken the time to step back and take care of me. Now I'm going to say this episode might be a little hard for me to get through because I do get a tad bit emotional when I think about the fact that, like you, I may not always take care of me first. So let's bear with me. Bear with a sister, as they might say. Because let me tell you, the crown fixer had to fix her own crown. So as I walk through this healing journey that I'm on, and I think about the journey towards love that I would like to be on, I find myself thinking about my own experiences from my past. I think about how I have given and given and given, sometimes to my own detriment. And I know that some of you can relate to that because we find that giving of ourselves to others is actually our happy place. But there are times when the happy place actually takes from us, but we don't recognize it until we start feeling a little depleted, until we start feeling like our reservoirs need to be refilled. In this past weekend, that is where I stood. I stood in a place of depletion. So if you heard me speak about that place this past weekend, if you heard me speak to you about love and the lack thereof in your lives, then you understand exactly what it is that I'm speaking of. Because not only is there that space in my heart and in many of your hearts in which you want to have that love that we always talk about, that you have actually been doing your best to give that to someone. And I spoke that sometimes people don't receive that. And for many of us, that's hurtful. It can also be stressful because you find yourself asking about your own worth. So as I spoke more about this over the weekend, I reminded you, just as I reminded myself, that not only are you worthy, but I too am also worthy. We are all worthy of the desires of our hearts. And sometimes we forget that, which brings back some of those stressors. So it is absolutely relevant for us to speak about that in this month of minority health and stress awareness. We need to begin to focus more on the things that will help us to relieve that stress, to remove that stress from our lives. What are the things that we can do individually to help us to move forward, to remove that chokehold of stress from our lives? Because so many of us are in that space where we know what we want, we know what we desire, but it continues to elude us. It continues to be just out of reach for us. We can see it on the horizon. We have an idea of what it looks like. We have an idea of what it feels like. And in some cases, for some of us, the moment that we think we have located it, or in our case, ladies, the moment that we think it has found us, it seems like it just disappears, or it is, as I've heard some people say, snatched away from us. And I think that what we need to remember is maybe that wasn't it. As much as we wanted it to be it, maybe it wasn't. That right there is the hard pill to swallow. It is the time in which we have to do what we spoke about in a couple of episodes ago. That true assessment of ourselves, of where we are on our healing journey, of where we are on our journey towards love. I shared with you this weekend also that sometimes that the person that you want to have in your life and you feel a connection to them, you may even feel love for them. Sometimes they're not ready. I use the word, or shall I say the term, that they may be running from you. And sometimes that's true. Sometimes it's not. However, it feels that way to you, which in turn leads you to question again yourself. You often will question, what did you do wrong? Why aren't you the one? Do they not see you. And when I say see you, so many of us have felt unseen by the person whom they desire to have something special with. And I say that simply because so many of you come to me and you express that. And I got to be honest with you. I too have been there. I too have felt unseen throughout the years in my dating life. I have felt that same hurt, that same invisibility is what we're going to call it. And I don't even really know if indeed you're unseen. I'm going to have to believe that said person simply isn't ready to receive what it is that you as a person have to offer. I read something earlier this week that said, I wanted to give you everything that you wanted, but you didn't want it from me. And in that moment, I sat with that. Just like I did this weekend, I sat with that because when I speak with you, the many conversations that I have with some of you, you say that to me. You say, but I wanted to give this to him, or I wanted to give this to her, but she didn't want it, or he didn't want it. And what I have found, what I have found is maybe they do want it. They simply don't know how to receive it. They don't. Just like us, oftentimes the person we're trying to give to haven't actually been given love in the way that you'd like to give it. So many people say they love someone, but they don't know how to show it. Now, let me be very clear. Before you start saying, Dr. Tammy, are you sure you know how to give love? I try. I don't know that I'm 100% on doing that the way that the person needs it. Because remember, we spoke about this before, that when we love someone, we have to remember to try to love them in the manner in which they need to be loved. But most often, what we arrive with is the way that we would like to be loved. So we have to learn to love them in their own love languages. And that's something that often brings stress between the two people and to yourself, because it's a learning curve. The stressors come with learning that person and learning what they need. And sometimes you get there, sometimes you don't. And that's the most difficult part about it, because so many of you want it so badly. You would do anything, almost anything, let me be clear, almost anything to have it with the person who has caught your eye, or the person you have been spending time with. That in and of itself can be stressful, especially when you think that you're giving your all and you believe your all hasn't been seen. Now, I say this to you. Don't give up. Don't you dare give up. This person may or may not ever truly see you, because that's the term we're using today. But someone else might. And that might be your person. My prayer for you is that the person who God has made specifically for you will see you, flaws and all. Because what we also need to remember is that our person is never, ever going to be perfect, because there is absolutely not one single person who is perfect on this earth. But your person will be perfect for you. And knowing that can remove some of those stressors from your life. Knowing that can allow you to think more positively about the outcome, even if it wasn't the outcome that you had hoped for. I spoke this weekend about letting go and how hurtful that can be because you love that person. That too brings about a little anxiety and a little stress, because that's not really what we want to do in the long term. We really have high hopes of that person being our person. We have high hopes that no matter what has transpired, that there's a positive resolution between the two of you. Sometimes that's true, sometimes it's not. Again, another stressor. But what are we going to do? We are going to focus on the positives. What did you learn from either the success of that interaction or the failure of that interaction? Did that failure teach you something about yourself? Is there something that you would rather focus on in this moment of transition? Remember, we're going to call it that because we're moving in a different direction at times, and this may be one of those times. So if it didn't work out, it didn't mean that you weren't seen. It most certainly did not mean that you are unworthy. It could mean many things, but you are still deserving. You are very much deserving of every single desire of your heart. And I want you to never, ever forget that. Remember, positive thoughts. Positive thoughts help you to feel better. Working and focusing on things in your life that will elevate you also help. Identify the stressors that have been brought about in this relationship or the lack thereof. But I want you to also remember that when you're thinking about removing stressors, it's not always about a romantic relationship, because stressors happen everywhere within family dynamics, on the job, so many places. But today, we have focused on removing the stressors that have come to you because you felt unseen, because you felt unworthy of the love that you were trying to give and you wanted to receive in turn. It's okay. I'm going to say that to you today. It is okay. You have got this. I have got this. And what are we going to do in the month of April? We're going to be positive. We're going to relieve and release stress. We're going to remember that love will still find us. We're not giving up. So on this Friday, on this Friday, I say to you, you are amazing. You are worthy. Your worth is never diminished. Your person, he or she, will see you. And ladies, he will find you. Don't stress. Don't worry. We've got this. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Much love. Much, much, much love.